There was no possibility of taking a walk that day. Since dinner, the winter wind had brought clouds so sombre and a rain so penetrating that exercise was out of the question. I take a book, making sure it has pictures, and hide in the window seat. With a book on my knee, I am happy. Happy, at least, in my way.
Where is she? Where's Jane Eyre? Bad animal. I know you're hiding. There you are. What do you want? Say, what do you want, Master Reed? What are you doing?
Reading.
Give me that book.
Yeah.
You ought to beg on the streets and not live here like gentlemen's children and talk like me and my sisters and eat our food just because we're cousins. Stand by the door.
Yeah?
Catch!
Ow!
The book hits me and I fall, cutting my head. The pain is sharp.
You tyrant, you murderer!
What did you call me?
What?
He runs at me.
Ow, get off
He
me.
grabs
Don't
my
touch
hair,
me, please.
my shoulder.
You rat! You
I
rat!
really do think he is a murderer.
You animal!
A drop or two of blood trickles down my neck, and I receive him in frantic sort.
Jane Eyre! What are you doing? Jane! What is all this? Did anyone ever see such a picture of passion?
She bit me, Mama. Jane Eyre bit me.
Take her to the Red Room.
No, Aunt.
Lock her inside.
No,
Please, Jane, just be quiet.
please don't. No.
I resist all the way. A new thing for me.
Stop it.
9 years ago, my uncle died in the Red Room.
Not there, please, Bessie.
What's come over you? You're like a wild cat. And you, such a strange, quiet little thing. Sit down and think about your wickedness.
Don't leave me, please.
You ought to remember, miss, that you are under obligation to your aunt. You have no one else. If she were to turn you out of Gateshead Hall, you'd go to the poorhouse.
Bessie, I'm frightened.
Say your prayers. Or something bad might come down that chimney and fetch you away.
The room is dark and chill. The curtains are red. The carpet is red. The table is covered with a red cloth. Since my uncle died, no one sleeps here. Daylight begins to forsake the sky. Reflected in the mirror, the room grows colder and deeper. The little face that stares back at me is white as snow.
Who's there?
Why can I never please? I am a discord in Gateshead Hall. I am not like my aunt. I am not like my cousins, John and his sisters, Eliza and Georgiana. I am nobody. A thing. A useless, noxious thing.
What's that? Aunt! How pity I can't bear it! Let me out, please! Let me out! Let me out, please! Aunt, how pity I can't bear it! Please let me out!
Unconsciousness closes the scene.
Could you eat, miss?
Bessie, where am I?
The nursery, miss. Drink?
No, thank you.
You need to sleep, miss.
Am I ill, Bessie?
You fell sick, I suppose, with crying. Mrs. was too hard.
No illness follows the incident in the Red Room, but it gives my nerves a shock. I feel the reverberation to this day. Weeks pass. Mrs. Reed keeps me at a greater distance. I am restricted to the nursery with Bessie. Until one morning...
Quick! Brush your hair. Take off your pinafore. What do you look like?
Why? Where am I going?
You won't want you downstairs.
This is the little girl, Mr. Brocklehurst, whom I would like to send to Lowood School.
I look up at a black pillar. His face is a carved mask.
Her size is small. What is her age?
10 years.
So much? Her parentage?
She is the child of my late husband's sister. Her father died after she was born. Her mother followed. Before his death, my husband asked me to bring her up as one of my own children, but...
Your name, little girl?
Jane Eyre, sir.
Are you a good child?
The less said on that subject, the better.
I see. Come here.
Sir?
Do you know where the wicked go after death?
They go to hell.
And what is hell?
It is a pit full of fire.
And what must you do to avoid it?
I must keep in good health and not die.
Mr. Brocklehurst, this little girl is not the character I could wish. She has a tendency to deceit.
She is a liar.
I would like her to leave as soon as possible. As for holidays, she will spend them at Lowood.
Of course, madam. We shall watch you, Jane Eyre. We shall watch.
Why are you still here?
I am not deceitful. If I were, I'd say I love you, and I don't.
How dare you speak like this?
Because it's the truth. You think I have no feelings.
What is the matter
You think
with you?
I can do without love, and you think I can do without kindness. But I can't. People say you are good, but you're not.
You get out.
My uncle is in heaven, and he can see how you locked me away and wished I was dead.
You obnoxious
You
child.
are the liar, not me.
Go away! You get out!
Send me to school, Mrs. Reed, for I hate to live here.
On a dark, raw, misty morning in January, I leave Gateshead with a desperate and bitter heart. We appear to cover hundreds of miles. By the time the carriage stops, it is night. I am lifted down.
Follow me, child.
I am led up a broad, pebbly path to a long, black building.
This way.
We go from passage to passage. Overpowered by tiredness, I scarcely notice the dormitory. I only sleep. When I open my eyes, the girls are dressing in the dark. I rise too, shivering.
Silence! All wash.
But we cannot. The water in the pitchers is frozen.
Silence!
All form in file and descend to the dim and cold refectory. I'm almost sick with hunger. On each table smoke basins of something hot.
Silence!
I see each girl taste her porridge, but it is worse than rotten potato. I manage 2 mouthfuls.
Let us pray.
Thanks being returned for what we have not had, we file to the schoolroom. 80 girls sit motionless and erect, all in brown dresses.
Burns! Careless girl. You are daydreaming again. Stand in the middle of the class.
Yes, Miss Scatcherd.
She's a tall girl, maybe 13. Why does she show no sign of distress or shame at her humiliation? She bears it as if she is thinking of something else. I watch, entranced.
To the garden!
Outside, the air is darkened by drizzling yellow fog. I draw my thin grey cloak around me. I stand lonely enough, but I am used to that. The sound of a cough makes me turn. It is the tall girl. She is reading.
Do you like your book?
Yes.
Has it got pictures?
No.
What is Lowood?
A charity school for girls with no family.
Have you been here long?
2 years.
Will you go home?
Nobody can be sure of the future.
Are you happy?
I want to read.
What is your name?
Burns. Helen Burns.
The next day commences as before, and so does the next, and the next. We shiver in our beds, we dress in the dark, we pray for over an hour before we breakfast. We eat what we can. We are ready to perish with the cold. At last the moment I have dreaded comes.
All stand.
Mr. Brocklehurst arrives, looking longer, narrower, more rigid than ever. The evening is spent repeating chapters of St. Matthew.
Not live by bread alone, but by the word that proceedeth from the mouth of God. A careless girl who dropped her slate. Stand up. Let us see who you are.
Jane Eyre, sir.
Ah, a new pupil. I have a word to say respecting her. Fetch that stool. Place her upon it. You see, she is yet young. You observe she possesses the ordinary form of childhood. God has graciously given her the shape that he has given to all of us. No signal deformity points her out as a marked character. Who would think that the evil one had already found a servant in her? Yet such, I grieve to say, is the case. My dear children, it becomes my duty to warn you. This little girl is not a member of the true flock. Teachers and children, you see this little girl. Be on your guard. Avoid her company. Jane Eyre is a liar. Let her remain on that stool. No one will speak to her for the rest of the day.
I had meant to be so good at Lowood, to do so much. And now here I am again, crushed and trodden on. What my sensations are when I step down from the stool, no language can describe. But just as they rise, a girl comes by. Helen Burns.
Here, bread, coffee.
I don't want them. He said I'm a liar. No one will care for me.
Jane, there's an invisible world and a kingdom of spirits. Why should we be overwhelmed with distress when life is so soon over?
She smiles. It lights her thin face like an angel.
Come, eat something. Oh, go on.
Resting my head on her shoulder, she draws me close. Lowood is a grim, dark place, but for the first time I realise I would not change it for Gateshead. Not for all the luxury in the world. My first quarter at Lowood School seems an age, and not the golden age either. It is torture every morning, thrusting my stiff, raw toes into my shoes. The wind almost flays the skin from our faces. The scanty supply of food is distressing. My only friend is Helen.
Burns, you dirty girl. You have not cleaned your nails. Fetch the rod.
Yes, Miss Scatcherd.
Bare your neck.
For they shall be satisfied. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy.
Do you hate this place, Helen?
No. I was sent to get an education.
But that teacher is so cruel.
She dislikes my faults.
If she struck me with that rod, I'd break it under her nose.
You wouldn't.
When we are struck without reason, we should strike right back.
We must love our enemies.
Then I should love Mrs. Reed, which I can't. I should love her son John, and that is impossible. I can't bear to be alone and hated, Helen. I would rather die.
You think too much of the love of human beings. I hold another creed, which no one taught me and I seldom mention. Revenge never worries my heart. I live in calm, looking to the end.
A few days later, Helen is made to wear a sign around her neck reading Slattern. The fury of which she is incapable burns in my soul, and tears, hot and large, scald my cheek. I take the first opportunity to tear it off and throw it in the fire. I cannot bear her sad resignation. Spring draws on. April advances to May. There are days of blue, placid sunshine and soft western gales. And with them comes typhus. 45 out of 80 girls lie ill. Many are sent home, others die at school. The garden glows with flowers, but their fragrant treasures are useless for most of the inmates of Lowood, except to furnish now and then a coffin. But I and the rest who are well enjoy the beauties of the scene and season. We play like gypsies. And what of Helen Burns? She is ill, and I have been told she's not in the hospital portion of the house with the fever patients. Her complaint is...
consumption.
So she hasn't got typhus? She'll get better?
It's late, Jane. Come inside.
Helen?
Oh, Jane.
I've come to see you.
You're just in time to say goodbye.
Helen.
Jane, your hands are so cold. Lie beside me. Warm now?
Yes.
Don't leave me. I like to have you near.
No one will take me away.
Good night, darling.
Good night, Helen.
When I wake, it is dawn. I am in someone's arms. The nurse carries me.
Helen! Where's Helen? Helen! Helen, where's Helen? Where is she? Where's Helen?
Her grave is in Brocklehurst churchyard. A grey tablet marks the spot. So I have lost my friend. With her is gone every settled feeling. During the 8 years that follow, I rise to be first girl. I become a teacher. Then, once again, I feel the stirring of old emotion. I gaze at the blue hills in the distance, the white road that winds between them. Must I spend the rest of my life between four walls, whilst the glorious summer suns burn, and every year reminds me it will not come again? I desire liberty. For liberty, I gasp. What can I do? I must advertise. A young lady, accustomed to tuition, is desirous of meeting with a situation in a family as governess. At last, there comes a reply.
A situation can be offered where there is but one pupil, a little girl. Please send references to Mrs. Fairfax, Thornfield House.
I send references. I give my notice at Lowood. 1 day suffices to pack my trunk. A phase of my life is closing, a new one opening. I will be a governess. When the carriage reaches Thornfield, it is already dark. The place is more a gentleman's manor house than a nobleman's seat, with battlements at the very top. Candlelight gleams from one window. All the rest are dark. I am led across a dark hall with doors all around. From there to a bright, snug room, wherein sits the neatest imaginable little elderly lady.
Ah, how do you do, my dear? You must be cold. Come to the fire.
Mrs. Fairfax.
I am so glad you are here. Last winter not a creature came but the butcher and postman. But then Adele arrived with her nurse, and now you. But you must be tired. Let me show you your room.
Mrs. Fairfax takes her candle, and I follow her upstairs. The long gallery into which the bedroom doors open looks as if it belongs to a church. A chill and vault-like air pervades the place.
I fear this house will get out of order unless Mr. Rochester should come more frequently.
Mr. Rochester?
The owner of Thornfield. I don't suppose you'll even meet him.
I thought it belonged to you.
To me? Bless you, child. I'm only the housekeeper.
And my pupil?
Adele is Mr. Rochester's ward. You'll meet her in the morning. Here is your room. I hope you will be comfortable.
After the eerie impression made by that long hall and the dark staircase and the long, cold gallery, I am now in a safe haven. When I wake, it is broad day. Lit by the morning sun, the chamber looks such a bright little place, with papered walls and a carpeted floor, and so unlike the bare planks and stained plaster of Lowood that my spirits rise instantly. I dress with care. Sometimes I regret that I am not handsomer. I wish for rosy cheeks, a straight nose, a tall figure. But when I have brushed my hair smooth and put on my black frock, I am respectable enough. It is time to meet my new pupil.
Well, how did you find her?
Adele speaks no English, Mrs. Fairfax. She's French.
She was born on the continent. She'd never left until 6 months ago when Mr. Rochester brought her here. What do you think of the view up here from the battlements?
You can see for miles. I like it very much. Adele is not used to learning.
Did she sing?
And she danced.
She does.
She told me her mother was a singer, but she's dead now, she said. I drew her some pictures.
I don't understand a word she says.
What's Mr. Rochester like?
He's a good master. He's travelled a great deal and seen a great deal of the world. He's rather peculiar, perhaps.
In what way?
I don't know. It's hard to describe. You can never be sure if he's in jest or earnest. You don't understand him. But his visits are rare and always unexpected. He shuns this old house.
Why? Why does he shun it?
Take care as we go down, Miss Eyre. It will seem dark at first.
Who sleeps on this floor, Mrs. Fairfax?
No one.
What was that?
What, my dear?
That laugh.
One of the servants. Grace Poole, I expect.
It came from behind one of those doors.
Grace is always laughing with the others. She's been here years. Grace! Too much noise, Grace. Remember directions.
October, November, December passes. Adele makes progress in the schoolroom. But restlessness is in my nature. It agitates me to pain. Sometimes when Adele plays with her nurse and Mrs. Fairfax makes jellies, I climb to the 3rd story and walk the corridor up and down, safe in the solitude and the silence. It is vain to say human beings ought to be satisfied with tranquility. They must have action, and they will make it if they cannot find it. Women are supposed to be very calm, but we feel just as men do. Thus alone, I often hear Grace Poole. But if I pass her, she barely speaks. She certainly never laughs.
Miss?
Good afternoon, Grace.
Excuse me.
It's cold today.
It is.
Miss Eyre, what are you doing up here? Grace, get back to your duties.
Miss?
I have a letter, Jane. Why don't you take it to the post?
It is a cold day. The ground is hard, the air is still, my road is lonely. On the hilltop sits the moon, pale as a cloud. I stop and watch. A dog, and behind it a horse bearing a rider. I stand, and as I do so, man and horse go down. Are you injured, sir? If you want help, I can fetch it.
Leave me, I'm all right.
I cannot think of leaving you, sir, until I see you are fit to mount your horse.
Then get hold of the reins. Can you do that? Are you afraid?
No, sir. Whoa. Whoa.
I must ask you to come to me instead. Necessity compels me to make you useful. Can I lean on you?
Yes, sir.
Where'd you come from?
Just below.
Thornfield Hall?
Yes, sir.
Whose house is it?
Mr. Rochester's.
You know him?
I've never met him. I'm the governor's. Catching the bridle, he springs into the saddle, grimacing with pain.
Thank you.
It was an instant of no moment. It was nothing. And yet, he asked my help, and I gave it. I felt no fear of him. His frown, his roughness set me at my ease. His face is before me as I post the letter. I see it even as I return to Thornfield. I linger at the gates. I linger on the lawn. I pace up, I pace down. Both my eye and my spirits are drawn from the great dark house to the sky above, the moon and trembling stars. I am weary of an existence all passive. After meeting with the stranger on the road, I do not like re-entering Thornfield. To pass its threshold is to return to stagnation. The hall is dark, not yet lit.
Pilot! Oh, there you are, Jane.
Whose dog is this?
He came with the master.
Mr. Rochester.
He's home. His horse fell and his ankle is sprained. He's asking for you.
He's here. This is his dog.
Hurry, he's in the drawing room, and he's not in a mood for waiting.
I know my traveller, with his jet-coloured eyebrows, the black sweep of his hair, his grim mouth, chin and jaw, yes. All three are very grim. He sits with his foot on a cushion.
I have you to thank for this sprain.
Sir?
Come to the fire, so I can see you. Sit.
Do you mean me or Pilot?
I mean you. You've lived in my house for 3 months?
Yes, sir.
And you come from?
Lowood School.
How long were you there?
8 years, sir. I went when I was 10.
So you're 18?
Yes, sir.
No wonder you have the look of another world.
Sir?
When you came upon me, I thought you had bewitched my horse. Who are your parents?
I have none.
You remember them?
They died when I was a baby.
Family?
No.
Friends?
I had one. No.
Your home? Where is it?
I have none.
So were you waiting for your people when I saw you?
Which people?
The men in green, the fairies.
The men in green left England 100 years ago, sir.
Have you ever lived in a town?
No, sir.
Been in society?
No.
Adele showed me some sketches. She said they're yours. Did someone help you with these?
I did them myself.
Where did you get your copies?
Out of my head.
That head on your shoulders?
Yes, sir.
Were you happy when you painted them?
To paint is one of the greatest pleasures I know.
Then you don't know much. You felt satisfied with the result?
Far from it. I had imagined something which I could not capture.
What are you about, Miss Eyre?
Sir?
It is time you put Adele to bed.
You said Mr. Rochester was not very peculiar, Mrs. Fairfax.
And is he?
He's changeful. He's abrupt.
If he is, allowances should be made.
Why?
There were disagreements many years ago with his father and his brother. They're both dead now, but he has painful thoughts. I don't suppose he'll stay here long. He never does.
For several days I see nothing of Mr. Rochester. Even Adele is seldom called for. Then one evening a message comes. He wishes to see me. Now. My master looks different, not quite so stern, much less gloomy. There is a smile on his lips, and his eyes sparkle. It might be wine.
You examine me, Miss Eyre.
Sir?
Do you find me handsome?
No, sir.
There is something singular about you. You have the air of a nun, as you sit with your hands in your lap and your eyes on the carpet.
Sir, I beg your pardon. I ought to have replied that taste differs, or beauty is in the eye of the beholder, or something of that sort.
You ought to have said no such thing. What's wrong with me? I have all my limbs.
Allow me to disown my answer. It was a blunder.
When I was your age, I was a feeling enough fellow. But fortune has knocked me about. You look puzzled, Miss Eyre, and though you are not pretty any more than I am handsome, a puzzled air becomes you. I am disposed to be gregarious tonight, and that is why I sent for you. Therefore, speak.
Speak?
I assume you can. You say nothing.
Ask me questions.
Do you agree that I have a right to be masterful on the grounds that I am old enough to be your father and have roamed half the globe, while you have lived quietly in one house?
I don't think you have a right to command me simply because you are old and have travelled.
Why are you smiling?
I was thinking, sir, that very few masters would trouble themselves to ask their paid servants if they were hurt by their orders.
Good Lord, I pay you.
You do. Though, in fact, sir, you haven't. You owe me.
I was your equal at 18, but I was thrust onto a wrong track at 21 and have never recovered the right course. I might have been as good as you. Nature intended me to be. But owing to circumstances, I am a commonplace sinner. You would say that when fate wronged me, I should have risen above circumstances, and so I should. But I did not. I had not the wisdom to remain cool. I turned desperate, then degenerate.
Repentance is said to be a cure, sir.
Well, take it from me, it's not. How very serious you look.
To speak truth, sir, I do not understand this conversation.
Where are you going?
To put Adele to bed.
You are afraid of me.
I am bewildered.
You do not like to be out of your depth.
I do not like to talk nonsense.
You never laugh, Miss Eyre. But in time you will learn to be natural with me, as I find it impossible to be conventional with you. I see at intervals the glance of a curious sort of bird through the bars of a cage. Were it but free, it would soar cloud high.
A few days later, I am outside with Adele when Mr. Rochester chances to meet us. While she plays with Pilot, he asks me to walk with him.
Adele is the daughter of a French opera dancer, Céline Varens, for whom I once cherished a great passion. Ugly as I am, I believed she loved me. I installed her in a hotel and I gave her everything. Then, happening to call one evening, I found that she was out. It was a warm night, so I sat on the balcony and waited. I heard her carriage. From the balcony, I watched her descend, and then I watched another man follow her. Her lover. You never felt jealousy, did you, Miss Eyre? Of course not. You never felt love. Your soul sleeps. I like this day. I like the sternness of a world under frost. I like Thornfield, too. The rookery, the thorn trees. And I've hated it for so long.
Why, sir?
Strange that I should tell you all this. Strange that you should listen quietly as if it were the most usual thing in the world.
And did you leave the balcony?
What?
When Mademoiselle Varens entered with her lover.
Oh, I'd forgotten. No, I threw her out. I shot him.
You killed him?
Only a bullet in the arm.
And what about Adele?
Celine said the baby was mine. Look at her, Miss Eyre. Pilot is more like me than Adele. After I had broken with her, Celine abandoned the child. I took her out of the slime of Paris and brought her here to grow up in the wholesome soil of an English country garden. And now you know she's the daughter of a French opera girl, you will perhaps think differently. You will be coming to tell me you have found another post.
Adele is not answerable for her mother's faults. Now I know her story, I love her more. That evening, I take Adele on my knee and allow her to prattle as long as she likes. I seek a trace of Rochester in her face, but he is right. I find none. And do you think my master is now ugly in my eyes? No. His face is the object I best like to see. His presence in a room is more cheering than the brightest fire. I extinguish my candle, but I cannot sleep. Who's there? Pilot? Who is it? Grace? I hurry on my frock and shawl. I open my door with a trembling hand. I forget Grace Poole. I forget her laugh. Smoke rushes from Mr. Rochester's chamber. His room is on fire. Wait! Wait, sir!
What?
Water. Where is the water jug and basin?
There's blood?
No, sir, but there's been a fire. Get up,
Is
quickly.
it Jane Eyre?
In heaven's name, get up. I will fetch a candle.
What the hell is going on?
I bring the candle. He holds it up and surveys the bed, all blackened and scorched, the sheets drenched, the carpet swimming.
Who did this?
I don't know. I heard a laugh. Shall I fetch Mrs. Fairfax?
No. Take my cloak. Sit here in this armchair. I'm going to leave you for a few minutes. I shall need the candle. Stay where you are until I return. Be still as a mouse. I must pay a visit to the third story.
A long time passes. In spite of my master's cloak, I am cold. Why does he take so long? I am on the point of leaving when... Please, God, it is my master.
As I thought.
Sir.
You said you heard something.
Grace Poole, her laugh. I often hear it.
Just so, Grace Poole. Well, you're no talking fool. You may return to your room.
Good night, sir.
You're going?
You told me to.
You saved my life, at least. Shake hands?
Sir.
Your hand is cold. I could not bear to be in debt to anyone but you, Jane.
There is no debt. Good night, sir.
I knew you would do me good in some way. I saw it in your eye when I first met you. Your smile did not strike my heart for nothing.
I am glad I happened to be awake.
So you are going?
I'm cold.
Go then.
I can't. You're still holding my hand.
Well, leave me.
I regain my bed, but how can I sleep? Somebody has plotted against my master. Someone deliberately set fire to his room, but who? Grace Poole? Why? I both wish and fear to see him again. The morning passes as usual. Nothing happens to interrupt Adele's studies. The only bustle I hear comes from Mr. Rochester's chamber, as the servants set it to rights.
Oh, what a mercy Master was not burnt in his bed. I wonder he woke nobody.
Only I know the truth.
Morning, miss.
Grace!
I see the master's room is restored.
Why? Did something happen?
The master fell asleep with his candle lit.
It seems strange that no one heard.
The servants sleep so far off. Only you and Mrs. Fairfax sleep nearby, and she's a heavy sleeper. Unless, perhaps, you heard a noise.
A noise?
Did you?
I thought it was Pilot.
Pilot. Very likely.
But Pilot doesn't laugh.
You heard a laugh?
A strange one?
It's hardly likely the Master would laugh. Not when he was in such danger. You must have dreamt it.
I was not dreaming.
Did you not think to open your door and look into the gallery?
No. I bolted my door.
You're very wise. It's always best to keep the door bolted.
I am dumbfounded. Why does nobody but me notice her strangeness? Why is she still here? Why has my master not dismissed her? Where is he? Dusk comes. I cannot forget the way he looked at me last night. I fancy I hear his tread and turn to the door, expecting it to open and admit him. I no longer fear meeting. I only desire it. I have so many things to ask.
Jane?
Mrs. Fairfax.
You hardly touched your tea this evening. You didn't eat lunch either. Are you well?
I never felt better.
Well, it's a fair night. Mr. Rochester's had a favourable day for his journey.
I didn't know he was out.
He set off this morning. He's gone to the Lees. I believe there's quite a party.
What time will he be back?
Oh, not for another week at least. When these fine, fashionable people get together, they're in no hurry to separate. And, of course, Mr. Rochester is a favourite with the ladies.
There are ladies?
Of course there are ladies. There is Blanche Ingram, too. She's one of the finest.
What's she like?
Tall and very fine. Such a head of black hair. Of course, she has no fortune, but that would be no obstacle for a man like Mr. Rochester. No, I wouldn't be surprised if he went straight from the Lees to London. We might not see him for a whole year. You look very flushed. Are you sure you feel well?
Alone once more, I review the information. You, a favourite with Mr. Rochester? You, gifted with the power of pleasing him? Your folly sickens me. Draw in chalk your picture and write beneath it, portrait of a governess, poor and plain. Afterwards, paint the loveliest face you can imagine. Call it Blanche, an accomplished lady. Whenever in future you should fancy Mr. Rochester thinks well of you, compare these two pictures. You are a governess. She is a lady. You are not of his class. A week passes. No news of Mr. Rochester. 10 days. He does not come. I feel a strange chill and failing at my heart. I mean nothing to him. I am a paid servant. I must not make him the object of my raptures and fine feelings. He has been absent a fortnight when the post brings Mrs. Fairfax a letter.
It's from the master. Jane?
My coffee was hot.
Oh. Oh.
Well?
I sometimes think we're too quiet, but we run a chance of being busy enough now. Mr. Rochester returns in 3 days. He is bringing the whole party with him.
Such scrubbing and brushing, such washing of paint and beating of carpets, such polishing of mirrors and lights I have never beheld before or since. Adele runs wild. Only now and then am I thrown back to doubts and dark conjectures. Thursday comes. Mrs. Fairfax assumes her best black satin and a gold watch. Adele wears a short muslin frock. For myself, I have no need to change. Adele flies to the window. I follow. Mr. Rochester is on horseback, and at his side rides a lady, her purple riding habit sweeping the ground. I have never seen such high-born elegance. I sit all night with Adele at the top of the stairs, watching and listening. And when the clock strikes 12, I carry Adele to bed. The next day is devoted by the party to an excursion. As before, Mr. Rochester gallops at Miss Ingram's side. Mrs. Fairfax and I watch them go.
No doubt he admires her.
And she him? Look how she leans her head close to his.
Jane?
I wish I could see her face.
You will have the opportunity. Mr. Rochester asked you to take Adele to the drawing room after dinner.
I need not go, I'm sure.
I told him you were unused to company. He said that if you refused, he would fetch you himself. You need not stay long, Jane. No one will notice you.
I sit at the window seat. Adele is by my side. The ladies move around the room like a flock of white, plumy birds. They do not speak to me. He comes at last. I am not looking at the door, yet I see him enter. I try to concentrate on my sewing, and all I see is the way he looked at me the night I saved his life. I had not intended to love him. I must remember, that he cannot care for me. And yet, while I breathe and think, I must love him.
Rochester?
Miss Ingram?
I thought you were not fond of children.
I'm not.
Then what induced you to take charge of that little doll?
Adele was left on my hands.
You should send her to school.
Schools are too dear.
I suppose you have a governess for her. I saw a person with her just now. Is she gone? Oh, no, there she is, beside the window. You pay her, of course. I should say that is just as expensive as school, more so, for you have them both to keep.
I fear, or should I say hope, he will glance my way and I shrink further into the shadows. But he never turns his eyes.
I had not considered the subject.
You men never do. Don't speak to me about governesses.
I leave the room before anyone can notice.
Jane, where are you going?
To my room, sir.
How are you?
I'm well.
Why did you not come and speak to me in the room?
You seemed engaged.
What have you been doing in my absence?
Teaching Adele?
And getting paler. Did you get a cold the night you half drowned me?
No, sir.
Come back to the drawing room.
I'm tired.
And a little depressed. What is it, Jane?
It is nothing.
Tonight I excuse you. But I expect you to come to the drawing room every evening. Good night, mate.
Sir.
Good night, Jane.
Merry days are these at Thornfield, and busy days too. I have told you I have learnt to love Rochester. I cannot unlove him, even if it is Miss Blanche Ingram who will marry him. One morning he is summoned away on business. A new guest arrives, a Mr. Mason, and he would seem strange were it not for the gypsy who follows, refusing to leave until she has told the lady's fortunes. She insists on seeing every one of us, even me.
Why don't you tremble?
I'm not cold.
You are very near happiness. Make your move and bliss shall follow.
I don't speak in riddles.
Is there no one here you think well of?
I don't know anyone.
The master of the house?
I don't see what Mr. Rochester has to do with my fortune. He is to be married.
To the beautiful Miss Ingram.
Soon?
These people with connections, they marry amongst themselves. He must love such a noble, witty person, and she must love him, or at least his purse.
I did not come to hear Rochester's fortune. I came to hear mine.
Chance has meted you a measure of happiness. She has laid it carefully on one side for you. Stretch out your hand.
Sir? Is it you?
Well, Jane, do you forgive me?
I'm not sure. That's not right. Did you know a new guest is here? Mr. Mason.
Mason is here.
He said he comes from Spanish Town, from Jamaica. What's wrong, sir?
Jane. Got a blow. Got a blow, Jane.
Lean on me, sir. Let me help. Let's sit here.
My little friend, I wish I were on a quiet island with only you. What did Mason say?
Nothing, sir. He sat by the fire. He wouldn't even take off his coat. He's waiting for you.
Jane, if all those people in the drawing room came in a body and spat at me, what would you do?
I would turn them out.
But what if I went to them and they only looked at me coldly and then left me one by one?
I would stay.
To comfort me?
To comfort you.
You dare risk censure for my sake?
I'd give my life to serve you.
Good night, Jane. Show Mason in here, and then leave us.
I do as he asks. Soon afterwards, I am asleep. Good God, what a cry. It comes from the 3rd floor.
Will no one come?
I put on clothes. I run from my room. I'm not the only one.
It's all right, everyone. I'm here.
We thought someone had been killed.
The servant has had a nightmare. I insist you all go back to your rooms. She cannot be settled until the house is quiet. Good night, ladies. Good night, gentlemen.
Good night. Good night.
I return to my room, but I know it is not a servant's dream. I sit by the window, looking out over the silent grounds and silvered fields, waiting for I know not what. What crime lives in this lonely mansion? What mystery? Why does this creature with the voice of a demon remain in this house?
Jane.
Sir?
Have you a sponge? Salts?
I have.
Fetch them. I need your help. Are you...
What, sir?
Are you afraid of blood? Are you ready, Jane?
Yes, sir.
Give me your hand.
Sir.
Warm and steady.
We enter a room, hung with tapestry, but the tapestry is looped up in one part, showing another door. This is open.
There's something inside that room, sir. I can hear it.
Don't move. I have the key.
So be very careful.
Was it Grace Poole?
Take the candle.
Someone's here.
It's Mason, I know. I need water and the sponge.
He fetches a basin of water from the washstand. It is only now that I see Mason in a chair. His eyes are closed, but I recognize his pale face. His arm is almost soaked in blood. Mr. Rochester sponges it away, but it comes back fast.
Jane, give me the salts.
Here.
I thought she would kill me.
I shall have you out of here by dawn.
She bit me. And she looked so quiet at first. I thought I could have done some good.
I told you to wait. It was madness to try and see her on your own.
She sucked my blood. She said she'd drain my heart.
Be silent now. I'm going to fetch the surgeon. Jane?
Yes, sir.
Come here. Sponge the blood, as I'm doing. Do not speak to this man. No questions. You understand?
Yes, sir.
Can you do this?
Yes, sir.
I shall be gone for no more than an hour. Richard, if you speak one word to her, I'll not answer for the consequences. Remember, no conversation.
Here, then, I am in the 3rd story. Night around me. A pale and bloody spectacle under my eyes and hands. A murderess separated from me only by a door. I must keep to my post. I must dip my hand again and again in the basin of blood and water and wipe away the trickling gore. But I shudder at the thought of Grace Poole bursting in upon me. Streaks of grey light edge the curtains when Rochester returns with the doctor. Together they carry him down the back stairs to a carriage that waits for him. Rochester asks the doctor to take care of Mason.
I shall ride over in a day or two to see how you get on.
Of course, Mr. Rochester.
Please, Edward, let her be treated tenderly.
I always have. I always will. But would to God it were over.
It is 5:30. The curtains are drawn over the servants' windows. The stillness of early morning slumbers everywhere.
You've passed a strange night, Jane.
Yes, sir.
You were afraid when I left you with Mason.
I was afraid of Grace Poole.
I had locked the door. I had the key in my pocket. You were safe.
Will she still live here?
Don't worry about Grace Poole.
The danger is gone.
Not until Mason is out of England. To live, for me, Jane, is to stand on a crater crust which may crack and spew fire any day. You're my friend, aren't you?
I'd like to serve you, sir, and obey in all that is right.
In all that is right. Quite so. Sit with me, Jane.
Beside you, sir?
Yes, sir, beside me. Does that seem wrong?
No.
Jane, suppose, for a moment, you were not a girl well-reared and disciplined, but a wild boy indulged from childhood. Imagine yourself in a remote land. Imagine that you commit a capital error, no matter why or what, but one whose consequences must stay with you the rest of your life. Mind, I don't say crime. My word is error. But the results of what you have done become insupportable. You seek happiness in pleasure, heartless, sensual pleasure. You find none.
Well, sir?
You come home after 20 years of banishment and find someone who is all the things you have looked for. You wish to begin again. My question is, are you justified in overleaping the world's opinion in order to attain true happiness with that person?
Happiness should never depend on another, sir.
I have been a worldly, restless, dissipated man. I believe I found my cure.
Sir?
Don't you think Miss Ingram a fine woman?
I do.
A rare one.
Yes.
All that a man needs. Eh, Jane? All that a man like me should expect.
Good shot. I think that person wants you.
Hmm?
Mr. Rochester.
What can the creeping creature want now?
Jane?
If you please, sir, I would like a leave of absence.
Why? Where are you going?
To see a sick lady who has sent for me. The wife of my uncle.
Excuse me, Blanche. You said you had no relations.
I said I had none who would own me. She cast me off.
Why?
Because I was poor and she disliked me.
Doesn't she have children?
Her son is dead, sir. My letter says he ruined himself. He committed suicide. She has 2 daughters.
How long will you stay?
As short a time as possible.
You will come back?
I will.
Well, you must have money. How much have you, Jane?
5 shillings, sir.
Here.
That's £50.
I owe you wages.
You owe me 15.
You're right. Better not give you this much or stay months. Here are 10.
Now you owe me 5.
Come back for it then.
Edward, have you finished?
Sir, you have as good as told me you will soon be married.
I have.
Adele ought to go to school, and I must look for a situation elsewhere. I must advertise.
At your peril, you'll advertise. I will find a place for you.
Edward, I'm waiting.
Promise that Adele and I will be safely out of the house before your bride enters it.
Edward!
Then you and I must say goodbye for a while.
I suppose so, sir.
It's your turn.
How do people part, Jane?
They say farewell.
Is that all?
I believe so.
Seems very stingy. Well then, Jane. Farewell.
I reached Gateshead the following evening. I left as a child with a bitter heart, and I am still a wanderer on the face of the earth. But I return with a yearning to clasp hands in amity.
Oh, bless you. I knew you would come, Miss Jane.
Bessie.
Oh, you are quite a lady. I knew you would be.
How is Mrs. Reed, my cousins?
They're both here. Your aunt doesn't have long. So you're a governess now?
Yes, Bessie.
Are you happy?
Very.
What is your mistress like?
I have a master.
And is he nice?
He's a gentleman and treats me kindly. But he will be married soon. I must find a new...
Mrs. is awake. I'll be here if you need me.
How are you, dear aunt?
Don't touch.
I feel pain and then anger. My tears rise, just as they did when I was a girl.
Are you Jane Eyre?
I am Jane Eyre.
I had more trouble with that child than anyone would believe.
Why do you hate her so?
I hated it the first time I saw it. It would cry in its cradle all night. My husband nursed it as if it had been his own. He made me promise to keep it. But I wish it had died. John, my son, where is he?
Now, Mrs., you must not excite yourself. Leave her now.
10 days pass. I get on as well as I can with my cousins, Georgiana and Eliza, though they are very cold. I have my drawing materials. They are my best company. I draw his face, my master's face. Now I have a friend beside me. Meantime, Mrs. Fairfax writes to tell me the guests have all left Thornfield, and Rochester has gone to London to make plans for his wedding. My aunt calls for me a second time.
Come close. I have twice done you a wrong. First, I broke the promise I made to my husband to bring you up as my child. And then, go to my dressing case. Open it.
This one.
Yeah. Take out the letter inside. Do you have it?
Yes.
Read it out.
Will you have the goodness to send the address of my niece, Jane Eyre? It is my intention to bring her to me at Madeira. As I am unmarried and childless, I wish to adopt her during my life and bequeath her at my death what I may have to leave. John Eyre, Madeira. But this was written 3 years ago. Why did I not hear of it?
I wrote to him. I said Jane Eyre was dead. She had died of typhus fever at Lowood School. You were born, I think, to be my torment. I do not understand how you could be so patient for 9 years and then break out all fire and violence.
I should have been glad to love you if you would have let me. Love me or hate me, you have my forgiveness. At 12 o'clock she dies. A strange and solemn object is that corpse to me. I gaze on it with gloom and pain. I drop not one tear. It is time to return to Thornfield. The western sky is warm, as if there is a fire lit, and the cloud shines. I have but a field or two to cross, and then I see my master.
There you are.
Every nerve I have is unstrung.
What the deuce have you done with yourself this last month?
I have been with my aunt, sir, who is dead.
A true Janian reply. Go up home, Jane, and stay your weary, wandering feet at a friend's threshold.
I am nothing to him. Soon he will be married, and I must move on and never see him again. And yet, alas, wherever he is my home, my only home. I have never loved him more.
I thought she would kill me.
I have twice done you a wrong.
You are my friend, are you not?
Summer shines over England. The trees are in their prime. On Midsummer Eve, Adele goes to bed with the sun. I watch her fall asleep, and then I seek the solitude of the garden.
It's a shame to waste a lovely evening.
I didn't see you. Yes, it is. It's beautiful.
Walk with me, Jane. Thornfield is a pleasant place in summer.
Yes, sir.
You've been here how long?
6 months.
You must have become attached to the place.
I have.
Adele and Mrs. Fairfax, too.
I have affection for both, sir.
And you would be sorry to part with them.
Very.
It's always the way. No sooner have you got settled, than it's time to move on.
Must I? Move on?
I believe you must, Jane.
Soon?
Very soon. Jane, what are you looking for? Why do you turn away?
Nothing, sir. I'm not looking for anything.
I kept my promise. I'd find you a new post, and they are a good family. How do you like Ireland?
Ireland? It's a long way.
But a girl of your sense will not object to the voyage.
Not the voyage, no, but the distance from England and from Thornfield and from...
What? Jane?
From you, sir. Oh, it's a long way, that's all.
We've been friends.
Yes, sir.
Sometimes I have such a strange feeling about you. It is as if I had a string somewhere here under my left rib, tightly knotted to a similar string in the corresponding quarter of your little frame. I am afraid that with you so far away, that cord between us shall be snapped, and I will take the bleeding inside. As for you, you'll forget me.
Never. Oh. I wish I'd never been born. I wish I'd never come.
Because you were sorry to go?
Because I love Thornfield. Because I have lived a full and delightful life here. I've not been trampled on. I've known you, Mr. Rochester, and it strikes me with terror and anguish to feel I must be torn from you forever. I know I have to go. I know it is necessary, but it is like dying, sir. I cannot bear it.
Why is it necessary for you to go?
Because of your bride, sir. Your bride. I cannot stay.
Jane, you must. I can still be married.
Do you think I can stay here and mean nothing to you? What do you think I am? A machine? Do you think that because I am poor, plain and obscure, I have no heart? No soul? I have as much soul as you and as much heart. And if God had gifted me with some beauty and wealth, I should have made it as hard for you to leave me as it is now for me to leave you. I am not talking to you in a conventional way. I am not speaking like a governess with her master. It is my spirit that speaks to yours. It is as your equal that I speak.
As my equal? Jane!
Let me go.
Where, Jane? To Ireland?
Anywhere I choose.
Jane, don't struggle. You're like a bird caught in a net.
I am no bird, sir. And no net ensnares me. I am a free human being with an independent will. And I will use it now to leave you.
Jane! I offer you my hand, my heart, and a share of all my possessions. It's you I want. Will you marry me? What love have I for Miss Ingram? None. What love has she for me? None. But you strange, almost unearthly thing I love as my own flesh. You, poor and obscure and small and plain as you are, I beg to accept me as a husband.
Me?
Jane, will you be mine? Say yes. Quickly.
You in earnest? Do you truly love me?
Say, Edward, give me my name. Say, Edward, I will marry you.
I will marry you, Edward.
God pardon me. Let no man meddle. I have her, and will hold her.
That night, the wind blows, the thunder crashes, the lightning gleams fierce and frequent, and yet I feel no fear. Mr. Rochester comes 3 times to my door.
You're safe?
Yes.
Are you safe?
Yes.
Good night, my darling.
Good night. In the morning, Adele runs to tell me a great horse chestnut tree has been struck overnight by the storm. Half of it is split, clean away.
I hardly know what to say to you, Miss Eyre. Don't laugh, but I thought Mr. Rochester came in here 5 minutes ago and told me you shall be his wife.
Yes.
He has?
Yes.
You've accepted?
Yes.
Is it really for love that he's going to marry you?
He says so.
But you are so young, so little acquainted with men.
Am I a monster?
No, you are very improved of late. I have always noticed that you were a sort of pet of Mr. Rochester's. There are times I wish to put you on your guard. I cannot tell you how I suffered last night when I looked all over the house and could not find you.
Well, never mind that now. All was right in the end.
Believe me, you cannot be too careful. Try and keep Mr. Rochester at a distance. Gentlemen in his station do not...
What? They do not what?
They do not marry the governess.
The chill of Mrs. Fairfax's warnings and the damp of her doubts are still upon me when my master calls.
Jane, why do you not answer?
I must find Adele, sir.
First come and bid me good morning.
Sir?
In 4 weeks, you shall be my wife. Why do you look pale?
To imagine such happiness is a daydream.
It's a daydream I shall make real. This morning I wrote to my banker in London to send jewels he has in safekeeping. In a day or 2 I shall pour them into your lap.
No, sir, never brain jewels. And please don't address me as if I were a beauty.
Let me look in those hazel eyes.
Green.
I beg your pardon?
They're green, sir.
As soon as we're married, I will take you away from here. 10 years ago, I flew through Europe half mad. Now I shall return with an angel at my side.
I'm not an angel, sir, and I do not wish to be one until I die. I will be myself, Mr. Rochester, and you must not expect anything celestial of me.
I never met your likeness, Jane. You please me, and you master me. Fetch your bonnet. We shall take the carriage and choose new dresses for you.
Adele may come?
I'll have no brats. I'll only have you.
You seem to forget who I am, sir. I will not come without my charge.
Adele, where are you?
The hour spent choosing dresses is distressing. The more he buys, the more my cheeks burn with annoyance and degradation.
This. What about this?
No.
This.
I'm not a doll, sir.
This?
As we re-enter the carriage, I remember what, in the hurry of events, I have forgotten. The letter my uncle sent to Mrs. Reed. I write to him as soon as I am in my room. And now the month of courtship is almost over. Preparations are complete. Rochester stands between me and every thought of religion, as an eclipse intervenes between man and the sun. There is my luggage. My wedding dress and veil hang in the closet. At night, a wind takes up and I cannot settle. Dream after dream disturbs me. Waking suddenly, a gleam of candlelight dazzles my eyes. The door to my closet is open.
Who's that? Who's there?
A woman stands before me, tall and large, with thick, dark hair. She takes my veil. She throws it over her head and gazes at the mirror. Then, pulling it off, she tears the veil in half and runs towards the door. Seeing me, she stops, thrusts her candle against her face. Her eyes are holes. Red holes. For the second time in my life, I lose consciousness.
It was a dream.
This was no dream,
You
sir.
have been overexcited, overfatigued.
I saw her.
Then it was Mrs. Fairfax or Grace Poole.
It was neither. This woman was new to me.
Did you see her face?
I never saw a face like it. It was a savage face. I'm glad I fainted.
Was anyone with you when you revived?
No. Only the dawn. Tell me who that woman was.
A figment of your
The
imagination.
thing was real. I saw it. And when I woke, I saw the veil. It was not a dream, sir. My veil was ripped in half.
Dear God.
Who was she?
It can only have been Grace Poole. You've seen what she can do.
Why do you keep her here? I don't understand.
Jane, when we have been married a year and a day, I will tell you. Promise me that tonight you will sleep with Adele in the nursery. Lock the door. Tomorrow you will be my wife.
Mrs. Rochester. She does not exist. She will be born tomorrow. With Adele in my arms, I watched the slumber of childhood, so tranquil, so innocent. When the sun rises, I kiss and cry over her with strange emotion. I dress in my white dress and veil.
There you are. The carriage is here, the luggage is brought down. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Give me your hand. My brain is on fire with impatience. Fair is the lily, the desire of my eyes.
Sir?
Hurry, Jane. Am I cruel in my haste?
No, sir.
We shall leave Thornfield as soon as we're married.
There are no groomsmen, no bridesmaids. Mrs. Fairfax stands in the hall as we pass, but Mr. Rochester holds my hand in a grip of iron. I can barely keep up.
No time to delay. The priest waits for us at the church.
I charge you both, as ye will answer at the dreadful day of judgment, that if either of you know any impediment, why ye may not be lawfully joined together in matrimony, ye do now confess it. Edward Fairfax Rochester, wilt thou have this woman to thy wedded wife?
I will.
Wilt thou love her, comfort her, honour and keep her?
Yes, yes.
The marriage cannot proceed.
What's this?
I declare an impediment.
Proceed, I tell you. Proceed.
I cannot proceed, sir.
My name is Richard Mason. Mr. Rochester has a wife, and she's living. She's living at Thornfield Hall.
My nerves vibrate as they have never vibrated to thunder. I look at Mr. Rochester. His face is rock. His eye both spark and flint.
You would thrust on me a wife?
I would remind you of her existence, which the law recognises even if you do not.
A wife? Who is she?
Her name is Bertha Antoinetta Mason. Edward Rochester married her 15 years ago in Spanish Town, Jamaica. I have the certificate to prove it.
It does not prove she's alive.
She was alive 3 months ago. I saw her there. I am her brother.
Impossible. I am an old resident in the neighbourhood. I never heard of a Mrs. Rochester at Thornfield Hall.
No one has. I took care of that. Come, Jane. There will be no wedding today. Follow me, gentlemen. Let me introduce you to Mrs. Poole's patient. My wife.
We leave the church. The gentlemen follow. At the house, Mrs. Fairfax, Adele, and the servants advance to congratulate us.
Away with you! You're 15 years too late!
My dear, what's happened?
He climbs the stairs, still holding my hand, the gentleman still following. We proceed to the 3rd story. He opens the door to the tapestried room.
You know where you are now, Mason?
Please, this is not safe.
He bit and stabbed you here.
Let's go back, Rochester.
Not going back now!
He lifts the hangings from the wall, uncovering the 2nd door. This, too, he unlocks.
Careful, please. Who is here?
In a room without a window, there burns a fire. Grace Poole is cooking something in a saucepan. In the deep shade, at the far end of the room, a figure runs backwards and forwards.
What is it?
My wife.
What it is, whether beast or human being, I cannot tell. It grovels on all fours. It snatches and growls like some strange, wild animal.
Good morrow, Miss Poole. How was your charge today?
We're tolerable, sir. Thank you. Rather snappish, but not rageous. Sir, she sees you. You better not stay.
You must allow me a few moments, Grace.
Take care then, sir. For God's sake.
Rochester, we'd better leave.
Go to the devil!
Sir, take care!
Mr. Rochester! Good God!
The lunatic springs forward and grapples his throat viciously and lays her teeth to his cheek. She is a big woman, almost as tall as her husband. At last, he masters her.
Here, sir, rope. You must bind her to the chair.
That is my wife. And this is what I wish to have. This young girl who stands so grave and quiet at the mouth of hell. Off with you now. I must shut up my prize.
Alone in my room, I lock the door. I take off my wedding gown and replace it with my grey dress. Everything is over.
Jane!
Let me in. Jane.
Speak to me!
Where is the Jane Eyre of yesterday? Where is her life now? What is her future?
Jane! Please! Talk to me! Jane!
Jane.
Please let me pass.
I've been waiting for you. Listening. I expected a scene, but you only stare at me. I never meant to wound you. Jane, will you forgive me?
I'm tired. I need water.
Jane.
He takes me in his arms and carries me downstairs. I feel the reviving warmth of the fire. I have become icy cold in my chamber. He puts wine to my lips. I must leave him. I do not want to leave him.
Drink. Jane. Drink.
I cannot leave him.
How are you now?
I shall be well soon.
What are you thinking?
I don't know.
You are thinking how to act.
I do not wish to act against you.
You intend to make yourself a stranger.
All is changed, sir. I must change too.
You don't love me.
I love you more than ever. But this is the last time I can say it.
Do you think you can live with me and love me and be cold and distant?
I know I can't. And that is why I must go. I must part with you for my whole life. I must begin a new existence.
Jane, I have a place in the south of France. Come with me there. You can still be my wife.
Your wife? Sir, you have a wife. She is upstairs.
Hear me out. Will you?
Yes.
You maybe know I had an older brother.
Mrs. Fairfax told me. She mentioned disagreements.
My father was an avaricious man. He couldn't bear the idea of dividing his estate between the two of us. He decided it should all go to my brother. For me, he would find a wealthy wife, so as soon as I left college, I was sent to Jamaica to marry a woman I had never met. Shall I go on?
Yes.
No sooner was the honeymoon over than I learned my bride's mother was in a lunatic asylum, locked up. For 4 years, I lived with that woman upstairs. We were not man and wife. No servants would stay. Her temper was too violent. Her vices were so strong only cruelty would check them, and I would not use violence. In the meantime, both my father and brother had died. So you see, the estate was intact after all. Jane, you look almost sick.
I pity you, sir. I earnestly pity you. Go on.
I brought her to Thornfield. I have another house on the estate here, more hidden away, but I knew the damp would kill her, and though I hate her, Jane, I would not murder her. I hired Grace Poole to keep her.
And then?
For 10 years, I roved. First one city, then another. I sought my ideal of a woman and never found her. I tried mistresses. The first was Celine Varron, Adele's mother. Others followed. You think me unprincipled, loose.
Did it not seem wrong to you?
It was with me, and I did not like it. It was a grovelling existence. And then, one frosty winter afternoon, I rode towards Thornfield and saw a quiet little figure sitting by herself.
Sir, please.
For the first time, I have found what I can truly love. You are my sympathy, my better self, my good angel. I was wrong to attempt to deceive you, but just give me this promise. I will be yours, Mr. Rochester. Say it. Jane, why don't you say it?
Mr. Rochester, I will not be yours.
Do you mean to go one way in the world and let me go another?
I do.
Do you mean now?
I do.
It would not be wicked to love me.
It would be wicked to obey you.
You have no one. No friends, family. If you live with me, Jane, who will be injured by what you do?
No one. But myself. I will be injured, sir.
Jane.
Please.
Never was anything so frail and so indomitable. A mere reed she feels in my hands. I could bend her with my finger and thumb. Look at that eye. That resolute, wild, free thing looking out of it. Whatever I do with its cage, I cannot get at it.
Please, let me go.
You're leaving?
I must.
My love means nothing.
God, give me strength.
Oh, Jane! My hope! My love! My life!
July nights are short. Soon after midnight, dawn comes. I rise. I am already dressed. I have taken off nothing but my shoes. I pack some linen, a locket, a ring. I take my purse containing 20 shillings. I steal from my room. The house is silent. I open the kitchen door, shut it softly. Goodbye, Adele. Goodbye, Mrs. Fairfax. Goodbye. My master. Dim dawn glimmers in the yard. I am out of Thornfield. Fast, fast I go, like one delirious, weeping wildly. And when I fall, I crawl on hands and knees. I long to be his. I pant to return. It's not too late. A coach. I wave my hand.
Miss? How far can you take me for 20 shillings?
Get inside, miss.
I am carried away. Two days have passed. The coachman has set me down. He would take me no further. But where is my parcel? My belongings? I must have left it in the coach. There are moors all around me. The roads stretch out, white and broad and lonely. Not a tie holds me to human society. I have nothing. What am I to do? Where am I to go?
Morning, miss. How can I serve you? Are you ill?
Where am I?
You don't know where you are.
Do you know Thornfield?
Thornfield? Never heard of it. Is that where you're from? Are you sure you feel well, miss?
Do you know... is there any place where a servant is needed?
Not round here, miss.
Would you please let me have a piece of bread?
Are you begging?
No, I'll give you my gloves.
What do I need with gloves?
I just need food.
Be off with you.
Please.
Get out of here.
I ramble all around the hamlet, going sometimes and returning again. I ask for work. There is none. When I pass a farmhouse and see a man eating bread, I ask for a piece, and he cuts me some. I see a girl about to throw porridge in the pig trough. I ask for that too. I sleep in the rain. Why do I struggle to keep living? Because I know Mr. Rochester is living, and while he breathes, so must I. To the hills I return, but there is no hollow in which to sleep. My strength is failing me. I sink where I stand. I would rather die here than the poorhouse. Let the birds pick the flesh from my bones. The days I roam, I barely eat. I sleep beneath the sky. On the fourth night, I surrender. I can but die.
In you come. Come on.
St. John, who is it?
I found her outside.
Who is she? She looks white as stone.
Dinah, move your books from the chair.
She's worn to nothing. Is she ill? Hungry?
Fetch milk, Mary, and a piece of bread. And keep her away from the fire. Fetch a blanket.
Here, try to drink. Try. More?
Is she not?
She's had enough.
A little more, St. John. Look at the hunger in her eyes.
Ask her name.
Do you hear us? Where do you live?
Can we send for anyone?
Who are you?
Who are you?
Ask her name.
My name's Jane.
Who are you?
Jane Elliot. The days and nights that follow are dim in my mind. I know that I am in a small room, a narrow bed. The two sisters visit me and I hear their voices, but I cannot speak.
It's lucky St. John found her, Diana.
She would have died if she'd spent another night out there. I wonder where she comes from, what she's been through.
Strange hardships.
When she spoke her name, her accent was pure.
Look at her hands. They're not servants.
How is she today?
I hope we can help her, St. John. What do you think happened?
You'll find she is some young lady who has had a misunderstanding with her friends. She looks sensible, but not handsome.
She's so ill.
Ill or well, she will always be plain.
Another day passes, another night. My grey silk frock hangs against the wall, all traces of mud removed. There are my shoes, also cleaned. I succeed in washing and dressing, and I find my way to the kitchen.
Bless us, O Lord, and these thy gifts, which we are about to receive from thy bounty,
through Christ our Lord.
Amen.
Amen.
Miss Elliot.
You've got up. You're just in time to eat. Please, join us.
Thank you.
You are very hungry.
Oh, she hasn't eaten for days.
Nevertheless, you have been ill. You must be moderate.
I trust I shall not eat long at your expense, sir.
As soon as we know who your friends are, we shall write to them. We can help you return.
That, I must plainly tell you, is out of my power. I have no friends. No home.
You have never been married?
St. John, she can't be more than 17.
I'm 19. I'm not married, no.
Oh, don't question her, St. John.
Where did you last reside?
That is my secret.
Let her eat.
If I know nothing of her history, I cannot help. And you need help, don't you?
I need help to find work. You and your sisters have already done me a great service. You have saved my life. I can tell you that I am an orphan. I was educated in a charitable institution called Lowood School. I left nearly a year ago to become a governess. I was happy, very happy, until I was suddenly obliged to leave. I can tell you nothing more. I fear discovery above all things.
You will stay here.
Of course you will.
My sisters forget they will be leaving before the month is over. They have posts as governesses.
Let's not talk about that now.
I am a curate. I look after a poor country parish. Any help I can offer must be of the humblest sort.
I will be a dressmaker, a workwoman, a servant.
Don't make her speak any more, St. John. Drink your tea, Miss Elliot.
Your tea?
Miss Elliot?
Yes. Yes.
If such is your spirit, I shall help you. Good morning, Miss Elliot.
You must not mind our brother. He looks quiet, but in some things he is as inexorable as death. He will sacrifice everything to his designs.
We hoped he might marry, but he has decided to become a missionary.
After this summer, we may never see him again.
A month passes. My health recovers. The more I know the two sisters, the more I like them. They love their home. Moor House, it is called. They cling to the purple moors that surround it. How I love to sit with them and sketch as they read.
Oh, if only the summer could go on forever. 3 days we shall be gone from here. Life will be very different when we are governesses.
I'm sorry, how clumsy.
Let us help you.
Jane, whose face is this?
Oh, he looks so wild.
Is it someone you know?
It isn't our brother.
No, it's no one. I must put the drawings away. Excuse me.
It is urgent that I find some vocation.
You have a question?
Your sisters will be leaving soon, sir, and so, I think, will you. Have you heard about any work for me?
I can only offer you a post of poverty and obscurity. I fear it is beneath you.
I told you, I will take any work, so long as it is honest.
When I first arrived here, there was no school. I opened one for boys. I mean to do the same for girls. I have hired a building with a cottage of 2 rooms. The pupils are poor, the salary will be small. It will be a lonely existence. Will you be mistress?
I'm sorry?
Of our school, Miss Elliot.
Yes. Yes, I accept your proposal with all my heart.
My new home, then, is a stone cottage. I have 20 pupils. None write, several knit. And am I content? No. I am desolate. I might now be living in a French villa, fevered with bliss one moment, suffocating with shame and remorse the next. I was right. I was right to leave. But I will never see him again.
Miss Elliot.
Mr. Rivers, beg your pardon.
My sister's left this parcel for you. Some paints.
Oh.
I took the liberty of bringing them.
Oh, thank you.
You find your work harder than you expected?
No, I want to work hard.
And you feel the solitude?
The solitude suits me.
And yet you will not stay here.
Why do you say that?
I read it in your eye.
I am not ambitious.
No, you're not like me. I am ambitious. But you are...
What?
Passionate. Human affection has a powerful hold on you. You cannot be content to pass your life in solitude any more than I can be content to live mine, pent between these hills.
I must go inside.
Who you are, Miss Elliot, what you have left behind, I do not know. But I urge you to resist every temptation to look back.
It is what I mean to do.
A year ago, I was intensely miserable. I thought I had made a mistake. I burnt for the more active life of the world. After a season of darkness, I saw the light. Within 6 months, I shall be gone from here. I shall overcome my feelings because I have vowed to overcome them. I shall leave Europe for the East.
Mr. Rivers?
A lovely evening, Miss Oliver. But late for you to be out alone?
Papa told me that you had opened your school and that the new mistress had come. Is this she?
Miss Oliver, Miss Elliot.
I'm so pleased to meet you.
And you.
I shall come and visit. Last night, Mr. Rivers, I was dancing until 2 o'clock. Why do you never come to see us anymore? Do come home with me and see Papa.
It is not a seasonable hour, Miss Oliver.
Why are you so shy? So sombre?
Good evening, Miss Oliver.
Well, I will leave you.
She goes one way, he another. She turns twice to gaze after him as she trips fairy-like down the field. But he never turns. Not once does he look back. I continue my labours at the school. It is hard work, but as my pupils progress, I take pleasure in their learning. Meanwhile, Miss Rosamond Oliver keeps her word. She comes to visit.
Did you paint all these pictures yourself? What a love you are! What a miracle! Will you paint a picture of me, Miss Elliot, to show Papa?
It is the 5th of November and a holiday. I have taken my palette and pencils and work on Rosamond's miniature when my door opens, admitting St. John Rivers.
I've come to see how you're spending your holiday. Not in thought, I hope?
I'm painting, Mr. Rivers.
May I see?
Don't you like it?
It's very well executed. Very correct.
Is it not like her?
Like who? I didn't notice.
You did, St. John. She likes you. She's a sweet girl. Rather thoughtless, maybe, but you have enough thoughts for the two of you. You ought to marry her.
I love Rosamond Oliver. In truth, I love her wildly. But it cannot be. She cannot be a missionary's wife.
You need not be a missionary. You might give up that idea.
Give it up. My vocation, my great work. It's what I live for.
You tremble when you see her.
There is something brave in your spirit. And something penetrating in your eye. But you misinterpret my emotion. If I tremble when I see Miss Oliver, I don't pity myself. I scorn the weakness. It is a mere fever of the flesh. Know me to be what I am. A cold, hard man.
Then why are you still looking at Miss Oliver's picture?
Are these drawings all yours?
Why?
No reason.
What he sees, I cannot tell, but something has caught his eye. Thinking I have not noticed, he rips one corner from a drawing and slips it inside his glove. Then he is gone. December. With the cold winds comes snow. I close my shutters and make a fire. A noise. What is it? wind. The latch lifts. The door opens. And out of the howling darkness steps...
Miss Elliot!
Mr. Rivers, you're covered in ice.
I came as soon as I realised.
Something happened. Your sisters.
It was the drawings, Miss Elliot.
What about them?
Your signature. Your signature in the corner.
I don't understand.
You are not Miss Elliot, any more than I am Edward Rochester. You are Jane. Jane Eyre.
Outside, the snow falls hard. So why has St. John braved the frozen hurricane? I have never seen his face look more like chiseled marble.
You look shocked.
How did you discover my name?
Let me tell you a tale. Sit, please. A poor curate falls in love with a rich man's daughter. They marry against the wishes of her family. 2 years later, the rash pair are dead. They leave a daughter.
What tale is this?
A strange one. The child is reared by her aunt. I come to names now. A Mrs. Reed of Gateshead. What is it, Jane?
Nothing. An animal outside.
A rat, maybe.
Go on.
Mrs. Reed keeps the orphan 10 years. Whether or not the child is happy, I don't know. She is sent to Lowood School. From there, she goes to be a governess. She undertakes the education of the ward of a certain Mr. Rochester.
Mr. Rivers.
I can guess your feelings, but I urge you to restrain them.
How do you know his name?
Rochester offers the governess marriage. She accepts. But she discovers, at the altar, that he already has a wife. One who is still living and a lunatic. What his subsequent conduct and proposals we can only guess, but when inquiries are later made, it is discovered the governess has gone. No one knows where. It has become a matter of serious urgency that her whereabouts should be discovered. Advertisements have been placed in newspapers. I myself have received a letter from a solicitor in London. Is it not an odd tale?
How is he? Since you know so much, where is he? Is he well?
If you refer to Rochester, I have no idea.
But is he looking for me?
A solicitor is looking for you. When he wrote to Rochester, it was a Mrs. Fairfax who answered.
He could be anywhere. Europe.
He must have been a bad man.
You don't know him. Don't pronounce an opinion.
Since you won't ask how I discovered your true name, I must tell you. Though wait, I have something here. A slip of paper. You see? You recognize it?
Yes.
Written on one of your drawings. Not one, in fact, but all of them.
Yes.
Jane Eyre. The advertisements demanded a Jane Eyre. I knew a Jane Elliot. Though I confess I had suspicions. Do you not wonder why advertisements were placed in newspapers? Why a solicitor is looking for you?
Well, why?
You had an uncle, a Mr. Eyre of Madeira. Apparently you wrote to him before you were due to be married. He has died. He has left you everything.
Me?
You're rich.
Me?
Do you want to know how much you're worth?
How much am I worth?
£20,000.
No. No, there must be a mistake.
No mistake. You are a young woman of independent means.
Here is a new stunner. It actually takes my breath. I have never heard St. John laugh, but he does now. But why did the solicitor write to him in the first place? It is too strange.
I will tell you another time.
Tell me now.
No, I am a hard man. You will not persuade me.
And I am a hard woman. I will not be put off.
But I am cold. No further infects me.
And I am fire. Fire melts ice.
Your name is Jane Eyre.
Yes, we know that.
You are not perhaps aware that I was christened St. John Eyre Rivers.
No.
My mother's name was Eyre. She had 2 brothers. One a clergyman who married your mother. The other became a merchant. When he died and left everything to you, his solicitor wrote to me asking if I knew your whereabouts.
We're your cousins.
We are.
This is wealth indeed. This morning I had no one. Now I have 3 relations, born into my world, full grown. These people who saved my life, whom I have loved barrenly, I can now benefit. £20,000 shared equally will be 5,000 each.
Jane, you need to sit. Compose yourself.
I will not sit. I will not be composed. Write to your sisters. Tell them to come home.
You must tranquilise your feelings.
And you, St. John, you can marry Miss Oliver and settle down like an ordinary human being.
I shouldn't have told you all this at once.
I like Morehouse. I will live at Morehouse. I like your sisters. I will live with your sisters. It pleases me to have £5,000. It would torment me to have 20. Send for your sisters, St. John. We shall have such a Christmas.
The school closes for the holiday. I return to Morehouse. Happy I am, and hard is the work. Such a beating of eggs, a sorting of currants, a grating of spices. Furniture is rubbed until it glitters. I purchase new furniture and arrange every chair, every table, bed, carpet with mathematical precision. Here they are. My cousins are here.
And what about the school? Will you return?
No, St. John has found a replacement. I would like to travel.
And your plans, St. John? Do they remain unchanged?
Unchanged and unchangeable.
What about Rosamond?
Rosamond Oliver is about to be married. I heard so yesterday. You see, Jane, the battle is fought and victory is won. I thank God for showing me. I will never fall into such temptation again. I want you to learn Hindustan.
Who?
Jane.
Why?
I leave for India in 3 months. I need a pupil with whom I can go over the language.
What about your sisters? They are far more clever.
No, Jane, you need occupation. I'll have you.
And so I become St. John's pupil. He is a patient master, very forbearing, and yet exacting. He expects me to do a great deal. I no longer talk or laugh freely when he is near. I fall under his freezing spell.
St. John, you must stop.
Jane and I have not finished our studies for the night, Diana.
But she's half asleep. She looks ill.
She needs employment.
Well, she's been learning with you all day.
Her life is purposeless, Mary. It requires an aim.
You're too hard.
Well, good night, Mary. Good night, Diana.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, Jane.
St. John? Jane's family now. She lives with us like a sister. You should kiss her too.
Jane?
St. John?
You tremble.
No.
We will continue our studies tomorrow.
Meanwhile, Rochester is always with me. I write to Mrs. Fairfax. Day after day, the post brings nothing. I write again. I wait. Briefly, hope shines, but it fades. It flickers. Not a line, not a word. Half a year has passed in vain hope. My hope dies at last. I feel dark indeed. And now a fine spring shines around me which I cannot enjoy. Every day I work at St. John's side. I have no will to resist.
Jane, come with me to India.
India?
It is what I want.
Some mercy. I can't.
God and nature intended you for a missionary's wife.
No.
You are made for labour, not for love. A missionary's wife you shall be.
St. John, no.
I claim you. Not for my pleasure, but for God's service.
I'm not fit for the work.
Humility is the groundwork of Christian virtue.
I do not understand a missionary life.
I shall teach you.
You have no idea how dark my mind is.
Then let God lighten it.
No.
You seem frightened.
The only fear I have is that you will persuade me to do what I mustn't.
I have watched you ever since we met. You are gentle. You are faithful. Open a school in India. Help Indian women. This is your path.
St. John, I need to think. Can you give me time?
Gladly. I will give you 15 minutes.
Rochester cannot be in England. If he were, he would write. The case is plain. I must live without the man I love. St. John is right. I need another interest in life. And is not the one he offers me truly the most glorious man can adopt? I must say yes.
Well, Jane?
And yet I shudder. If I join St. John, I abandon half myself.
Have you made up your mind?
I am ready to go to India. If I may go free.
Free?
I cannot go as your wife.
But our union must be consecrated by marriage.
I will go as your sister.
You are not my sister. You have said you will go with me to India. Remember, you have said that.
Conditionally.
I do not want to take a sister. I want to take a wife. A woman I can influence. A woman who will stay at my side till death.
Then you must seek one elsewhere.
I want a wife to join me in my purpose. It is what I want.
St. John, I will cross oceans with you and toil under eastern sun. I will admire and emulate your courage and devotion, but I cannot be your wife. I cannot marry and become a part of you. It would freeze me.
We must be married. There is no other way. And in time, who knows? Love may follow.
I scorn your idea of love, and I scorn you when you offer it. Oh, forgive me. But it is your own fault that I've been roused to speak like this. We should never talk of love, you and I. Our ideas are such opposites. Abandon your scheme of marriage. I cannot marry you, St. John. For the rest of the day, he will not speak to me. He kisses his sisters good night.
Diana? Mary?
Good night, St. John. Hi, St. John.
But me he will not look at. He leaves the room in silence.
Jane?
St. John.
Have you changed your mind?
Forgive me. Please forgive me. I can't bear it. I can't bear to offend you.
But I have nothing to forgive. You're trembling. Think about my offer. And remember, in rejecting me, it is not me you deny. It is God.
St. John Rivers wants me to marry him and go with him to India as a missionary. I cannot do it. Now he makes me feel what severe punishment a good yet stern man can inflict. My refusal is written in the air between us. His eye is a cold blue gem. He is no longer flesh. He is marble.
I'm not angry with you, Jane.
Must we part this way? Will you leave for India without one kind word?
Will I leave? Is that what you said?
I did.
You are not coming.
You said I couldn't, not unless I married you.
And you still adhere to that?
You don't love me. How can I marry you?
Why once more this refusal?
Because it would kill me. You would kill me. You're killing me now.
You are afraid of yourself.
To do as you wish is equivalent to committing suicide. Besides, before I leave England, I must know whether I cannot be of greater use by staying.
What do you mean?
Oh, it is pointless to explain.
I know where your heart turns. You should blush. You think of Rochester.
I cannot stop.
Then I can only remember you in my prayers. And I thought I had recognized in you one of the chosen.
At supper, St. John is as composed as always. He has forgiven me once more. He asks to speak to me in private.
If I listened to human pride, I would say no more to you about marriage. But I listen to my duty. I cannot give you up to perdition. Repent while there is still time.
He lays his hand on my head. Why do I struggle? I am almost as ready to surrender to him now as I was once ready to surrender to another.
Jane?
Where are you?
Jane?
I am motionless under his touch. My refusals are forgotten. My wrestlings paralyzed. Why not sacrifice everything on earth for an eternity beyond?
Will you be my wife?
I can resist his anger, but how I yearn for his kindness. Yet if I yield now, he will punish me one day for my former rebellion, I know it.
Could you marry me?
I don't know.
Decide, Jane.
If I knew it was God's will, I would marry you. I could vow to marry you here and now if I could only be certain.
My prayers are answered.
He presses his hand firmer on my head. He surrounds me with his arm. What should I do? What should I do? Tell me what to do.
Be my wife.
Yes. I will put love aside. I will only think of duty. I will marry him. I will go with him.
What is it?
What have you heard? Why do you stare?
Let me go, St. John.
What is it? What do you see?
My master's voice is not in the room. It is not in the garden. It does not come out of the air or from the earth, and yet I hear it. It is inside me.
I am coming. Wait for me. Wait.
What are you doing? Jane?
Let me open the window. I hear you. I hear.
I am gone by dawn. It is the 1st of June, but the air is overcast and cold. Once more on the road to Thornfield, I feel like a messenger pigeon flying home. It is a journey of over 6 hours. How I look forward to the first glimpse of the house. Perhaps my master will be standing at his window. Here I am, coasting the lower wall of the orchard. Here I am, passing through the gate. I look with joy towards the stately house. And what do I find? A blackened ruin. The front wall is perforated with shattered windows. There is no roof. There are no battlements, no chimneys. All is blackened by fire. No wonder all my letters have gone unanswered. There is no one here. There is only the silence of death. The sky is sad. The wind is cold. Can there be any life here at all? Pilot? Where is your master? A figure sits alone. A man without a hat. He stretches out his hand to feel if it rains. It is my master. His face scarred all over. His eyes unseeing.
Is someone there? Who's there?
My heart strikes my ribs.
Mrs. Fairfax? Is that you?
No, sir.
Who is it? Who?
Pilot knows me.
Where are you?
I'm right before you.
Great God. What is this?
It's me, sir. Here, take my hand.
fairy fingers. Is it Jane? Is it her?
You touch me, sir. I'm not cold like a corpse, am I?
I have called for her. I have called and called. She has come back.
She is.
This is her shape. This is her size.
And this her voice. She is all here. Her heart, too. I'm glad to be so near you again.
Jane Eyre. Jane Eyre.
And come back to you.
And will you stay?
I will. Tell me what happened here.
After you left, I tried to find you, Jane. When there was no news, I sent Adele away to school. I shot myself away. I wouldn't leave Thornfield except at night. Saw no one. I didn't want them.
But the fire?
It was last harvest time. The fire broke out at dead of night. Before the engines were here to put it out, the building was one mass of flame. Everything was ruined.
How did it start?
Grace Poole had taken a little too much gin and water. It is excusable. She had a hard life. Bertha must have taken the keys out of her pocket. She set fire first to the hangings in the room beside her own.
Where Mason slept, I remember.
And then she went down to the second floor. She set fire to the room that was yours.
You were in the house?
I went up to the attics. I got the servants out.
And then?
I went back for her. She was on the rooftop, standing on the battlements, waving her arms, shouting. You could have heard her for miles. I climbed up through the skylight. I called her name. She saw me, then shouted something, I don't know what. She jumped. The fall killed her instantly.
Good God.
You may well say so.
And then?
As I came down the great staircase, there was a great crash. I was taken out from the ruins alive, but hurt. I lost my sight. I lost my hand.
But you don't live here?
No. I only come back sometimes. To call your name.
Water stands in my eyes. I will not shed them. I lead him out of this burnt and wild place. I describe the fields, how green they are, how sparklingly blue is the sky. I dry a seat for him on an old tree stump, and when he draws me close, I do not turn away.
Have you a comb?
What for, Jane?
To comb this shaggy black hair of yours. You're being metamorphosed into a lion.
Am I hideous?
Very, sir. You always were. Where is your comb?
Here. I see the wickedness has not been taken out of you.
I've been with good people.
Who have you been with?
Stop twisting, will you? You'll lose half your hair.
Were they ladies?
Who?
The people you stayed with.
They were my cousins.
I thought you had no family.
So did I. It has been a strange adventure.
Oh, Jane. When I discovered you had fled from Thornfield, when I could not find you, I would have given you half my fortune and demanded nothing in return, rather than let you fling yourself friendless in the world. What has happened? Where did you go?
I tell him the narrative of my past year. He listens in stillness, the lines of sadness marking his strong features. His face reminds me of a lamp, quenched, waiting to be relit.
You are an independent woman now.
I am.
Your own mistress.
I am.
This St. John is your cousin?
Yes.
Do you like him?
He is a good man, sir.
But he is a curate, you say. Priggish?
No. Polished.
Old?
Young.
But half strangled, I imagine, with his white neckcloth. And stilted up, of course, on thick-soled shoes.
He dresses well. A handsome man.
Do you like him?
You asked me that before.
Perhaps you need to go, Miss Eyre.
Where?
I'm not a fool. Go back to this man you have chosen. Marry him.
I do not love him. He does not love me. My heart is yours. It belongs to you.
But look at me. Look at me.
I do, sir. I am. I will be your companion, your nurse, your housekeeper. I will be your eyes and hands. Do not be sad, my dear master.
Jane, I want a wife. Is that unwelcome news?
It depends who you choose.
Make the decision for me, Jane.
Choose, then, her who loves you best.
I will choose at least her who I love best. Jane, will you marry me?
And so I married him. A quiet wedding we had. He and I, the parson and clerk, were alone present. As for St. John, he went to India. Both his sisters married. I frequently visit Adele at her school. She has long since repaid any little kindness I ever had it in my power to offer her.
Jane, are you wearing a gold chain today?
Yes, Edward.
A pale blue dress?
He still cannot see distinctly. He cannot read or write, but he can find his way without being led by the hand. The sky is no longer a blank. The earth is no longer a void. When his son is born, he sees the child's black eyes. I am happy.